You've made it to the final lesson. I know that the last lesson had a ton of information in it, but hopefully it helped you see unethical behavior and fraudulent billing from a behavioral perspective. It's often easy for us to assume that other people engage in unethical behavior because they are unethical. Now you should understand that even ethical people can engage in unethical behavior under the wrong circumstances. This lesson will be all about how to protect yourself from the influence of the factors we discussed in the previous lesson. In this final lesson, we are going to cover strategies that you can use on your own to mitigate many of these factors. Although there are a lot of ways you can change existing contingencies, we will focus on these 5 strategies for individual BCBAs. Developing an awareness of your personal biases through reflection and feedback. Joining a community of professionals with strong ethical standards to ask questions and receive feedback from. Reframing situations from a client-centered perspective so that the client's needs always come first. Questioning authority when directives conflict with your ethical principles. And exploring alternative income streams that are not solely reliant on billable hours. If you are an ABA business owner, there are a few more strategies you can use to encourage and support your staff to engage in ethical behavior. These include modeling and reinforcing ethical behavior at all levels of leadership within the organization, avoiding the temptation to tie compensation or bonuses to amounts billed or collected, ensuring that BCBAs have the resources and support needed to meet their professional and financial needs without resorting to fraudulent billing, and diversifying revenue sources to reduce the risk of pressuring staff to generate more billing. If you don't own the ABA company you're working at, it's unlikely that you will have the ability to implement these strategies. Depending on your employer, you may be able to make some suggestions, or you could consider seeking out a company that has some of these strategies in place. We will walk through each of these 9 strategies before we wrap up. If you have any other strategies that you find helpful, share them in the space below. We love to hear what works for other professionals. Developing an awareness of personal biases is an important first step in reducing the chances that you will engage in unethical behavior. Who here thinks they're completely free of bias? Hopefully none of you raise your hand. Everyone has biases, both conscious and unconscious. Biases are simply our pre-existing beliefs and assumptions, and they can significantly influence our thoughts, feelings, and actions. In the context of ethical behavior, there are 4 main biases you should be aware of: self-serving bias, obedience to authority bias, conformity bias, and overconfidence bias. To change your biases, you must first become aware of what they are. So how do we do that? Through your experiences as a BCBA, you've become very good at assessing the behavior of other people. But you probably don't spend a lot of time thinking about your own thoughts and behavior. Self-reflection is likely one of those activities that doesn't take priority over the other tasks you do. Maybe you feel that as a behavior analyst, the activity isn't tangible or concrete enough to be useful. Think of self-reflection as an analysis of your own private events. Understanding your private events will help you shape your behavior and ensure that your behaviors align with your values. Here are some specific steps you can take to become more aware of your personal biases. Set aside dedicated time for self-assessment on a regular basis. Start a reflective journal to document daily experiences, challenges, and decisions. Cultivate mindfulness to observe thoughts and feelings without judgment. Actively seek feedback from peers, supervisors, and colleagues, and discuss challenging cases, ethical dilemmas, and personal reactions to client interactions with a supervisor or mentor. These activities feel difficult at first. There are some questions and ideas in the workbook to get you started. Consider this an assessment if framing it that way helps you feel more comfortable with the process. Joining a community can be a valuable strategy for BCBAs to foster ethical behavior, receive support, and engage in ongoing professional development. Make sure that the community you join shares the values you want to emulate. As we talked about earlier, the in-group, out-group phenomenon will make it more likely that your thoughts and actions will align with others in the community. Here are some places you can look for communities to join. professional organizations related to behavior analysis, such as Association of Professional Behavior Analysts or similar organizations. Some of these organizations have leaders who support practices that might not align with your values, so get involved, but be prepared to leave the community if these practices begin to be promoted. Local ABA chapters or associations. Participate in meetings, events, and networking opportunities to build relationships with other BCBAs and share insights or ethical considerations in the field. Online forums and discussion groups dedicated to behavior analysis. Engage in conversations, seek advice, and share experiences related to ethical challenges within the field. You can find many of these on social media such as Facebook, LinkedIn, or Reddit. Keep in mind that opinions abound on these discussions. Don't try to sway everyone to your way of thinking. Instead, look to align yourself with professionals who have strong values. The Dojo membership in the Master ABA Academy offers a forum for members to share their thoughts and experiences. This forum is monitored to ensure strong ethical conversations are supported and encouraged. Mentorship programs within the ABA community. Having a mentor can provide valuable guidance on ethical practices and offer support in navigating challenging situations. Conferences, workshops, and seminars related to behavior analysis. These events provide opportunities to connect with professionals, stay informed about ethical standards, and engage in discussions on best practices. Practicing reframing from a client-centered perspective involves consciously shifting your mindset to prioritize the client's needs and well-being. I'm sure every one of you prioritize your client's best interests, but this is about consciously reframing situations from the client's perspectives as situations come up. Consider the example we used in the last lesson where your supervisor explained that it was necessary for you to reduce your supervision hours and spend some of that time providing direct services to increase billing. Your boss explained the situation from the perspective of the needs of the company. Before responding, take a minute to reframe the situation from your client's perspective. Ask yourself, how does this situation impact my client? What decision is in the best interest of my client? And how will this decision impact me in my career? The first two questions help you consider what decision is right for your client. The last question acknowledges that any decision you make might impact you and your career. In this example, if the RBT working with your client has strong skills and the client is making great progress, it might be ethical and appropriate for you to reduce the number of supervision hours and offer some direct services, assuming that this is allowed by the insurance company. If the RBT is newer, the client engages in serious or potentially dangerous behavior, or the client is struggling to make progress, it might not be ethical to honor your boss's request. Stopping to reframe the situation allows you to make a conscious decision. It's not about always rejecting requests that are made of you. It's about ensuring that your client's needs are prioritized over all others. If you're newly certified or you find it difficult to know what your client's perspective might be, here are some suggestions. Practice active listening during interactions with clients. Pay close attention to their verbal and nonverbal cues, allowing you to better understand their concerns and preferences, rather than relying primarily on your training and past experiences. Involve the client in the goal-setting process, even when their communication or understanding is limited. Solicit their input to ensure that the objectives align with their priorities and are meaningful to them. When they can't communicate what they want, pay attention to their response when you target specific skills. Be culturally competent and sensitive to the client's cultural background. Understand how cultural factors may influence their needs and preferences. Embrace a strengths-based approach by focusing on the client's abilities and positive attributes. Frame interventions in a way that builds on their strengths rather than highlighting deficits. Regularly ask yourself if the decisions and interventions align with the client's best interests. If faced with a dilemma, prioritize the option that maximizes the client's well-being and autonomy. By consistently applying these strategies, you can develop a client-centered mindset that places the client's needs at the forefront of decision-making and intervention planning. This approach not only enhances the effectiveness of interventions, but also strengthens your ability to prioritize your client's needs when ethical dilemmas come up. Now is the time when I give you permission and actually encourage you to question authority. I encourage my staff to do this as well. This is something that has been difficult for me. I'm actually a huge rule follower, and when I was first starting out, I didn't question authority as freely as I do now. I assumed that I should do what those with more experience and knowledge asked me to do. Of course, you shouldn't always disagree with those in authority, so here are some questions you can ask yourself to decide if you should. Does what I'm being told align with my ethical code and professional standards? What are the potential consequences for both the client and myself? And have I exhausted all other options by addressing the client's needs ethically? Challenging someone in authority, especially when it concerns potentially unethical billing practices, can be a daunting task. Here are some tips to help you navigate this respectfully and effectively. Prepare your facts and reasoning. Before approaching your supervisor, thoroughly understand the specific ethical concerns about the requested billing practice. Research relevant ethical codes, guidelines, and policies to solidify your stance. Choose the right setting and timing. Approach your supervisor in a private setting where you can have a constructive dialogue without disruptions. Avoid confrontational situations during stressful times or in front of others. Start with appreciation and openness. Acknowledge your supervisor's position and expertise. Frame your concerns as a collaborative effort to ensure ethical practice and optimal client care. Use phrases like, I value your experience and I want to bring something to your attention that I'm concerned about. Clearly communicate your ethical concerns. Maintain a respectful and professional tone throughout the conversation. Avoid accusatory language and listen attentively to your supervisor's perspective. Aim to find common ground and work together towards a solution that upholds ethical principles. Propose alternative solutions. Don't just point out the problem. Offer workable alternatives that are ethically sound and meet the client's needs effectively. Brainstorming solutions demonstrates your commitment to finding a positive outcome. And finally, document the conversation. After the conversation, keep a written record of the date, key points discussed, and any agreements reached. This documentation can be valuable if further clarification or escalation becomes necessary. When you find yourself in a situation where this type of conversation is necessary, it's often helpful to start by asking questions. When you ask the questions in an open way with a curious tone of voice, you might find that you're able to come to a mutually acceptable solution. Here are a few questions you could ask. Can you please clarify the rationale behind this billing approach and how it aligns with the requirements of the insurance company? I'm concerned that this approach might not be in the best interest of the client in terms of specific potential harm. Have you considered alternative options that align better with the client's needs? And I feel conflicted about the situation and would appreciate guidance on how to ethically navigate this and ensure the best possible care for the client. Do you have any suggestions for me to further explore this or seek additional resources? Asking questions might help you understand the situation from a different perspective and eases you into the conversation without being confrontational. Diversifying income through additional revenue streams offers BCBAs financial stability and autonomy, creating a buffer against economic uncertainties and external pressures. By developing additional sources of income outside of billable hours, BCBAs can reduce their reliance on a single revenue stream. This diversification lessens the perceived pressure to engage in unethical billing to meet their personal financial goals. When BCBAs have diverse income sources, they can prioritize client-centered practices without feeling pressured to meet a minimum number of billable hours. This focus on meeting clients' needs rather than meeting financial quotas reduces the pressure to engage in fraudulent billing. Financial stress is a common factor that may lead individuals to engage in unethical behavior. Exploring alternative income streams can alleviate financial stress, creating a more conducive environment for ethical decision-making. BCBAs who have multiple income streams feel empowered to stand up against unethical practices because they no longer depend as heavily on the company to provide their financial stability. Many people don't believe they have anything special to offer and feel unprepared to start their own side hustle. But in fact, you have knowledge and experience that is unique to you that someone else needs. Here are some ideas of how you can create alternative income streams. Offer consultation services to schools, organizations, or other professionals in the community. This can involve sharing expertise, providing training, or assistance with program development. Develop and conduct in-person training workshops or seminars on topics related to behavior analysis. Offer your expertise to educate others in the field or in related industries. Provide professional development services to organizations or schools. This could include designing and delivering courses on behavior analysis, ethics, or related subjects. Create and sell online courses or webinars on behavior analysis topics. This allows you to reach a broader audience and generate income through course enrollment. Offer supervision or mentorship services to individuals pursuing certification in behavior analysis. This can be done independently or in collaboration with training institutions. Develop and sell educational resources such as curricula, assessment tools, or materials for behavior analysts, educators, or parents. Explore affiliate marketing or partnership opportunities with companies that offer products or services related to behavior analysis. This can involve promoting and earning commissions on recommended resources. The list of possibilities is almost endless. If you're not sure where to start, we created the Balanced BCBA to take you step by step through the process. We offer a training called Your First Steps to Freedom, a journey for BCBAs, that shows you how we grew Master ABA, which is the side hustle that allowed me to stand up against unethical practices. If you're interested in learning more about this, there will be a link in the Resources tab in this lesson. We are going to finish up with the strategies for our ABA business owners. I know that these strategies won't apply as well to those working as employees, but consider how you might implement some of them yourself to encourage ethical practices of the RBTs and BCBAs you work with. The first strategy is to model and reinforce ethical behavior at all levels of leadership within the organization. This seems like an obvious step, but sometimes we engage in ethical practices behind closed doors. Be transparent about what you're doing every day that aligns with what you want others to do. For example, if you're a BCBA who wants to encourage RBTs to be specific and ethical in their billing for sessions, talk to your RBTs about the times you're using for your billable event. You could say something like, I just want to make sure our supervision times align. Since the client didn't get home until 3:13, I'm starting the supervision session at 3:15. Some RBTs have been taught that they should round to the nearest half hour for a session, or that they should use the scheduled start and end times. Clearly stating what you're doing will help them understand the rules and see that you care about ethical billing practices. Avoiding the temptation to tie compensation or bonuses to amounts billed or collected is a difficult step to take. Most companies in the industry base salaries on billable hours. If an RBT or BCBA gets paid only for the time spent in sessions, there is significantly more temptation to engage in fraud than if the staff receive compensation based on another metric. I recognize that not all companies are able to take this step, but if you can't, consider how you can minimize the impact of this. At the nonprofit where I was the clinical director in New Hampshire, all our BCBAs were salaried employees with no minimum billable hour requirements, and our RBTs were paid hourly from the start of their workday until the end. They were even paid for a 30-minute lunch break. I didn't realize that this was an unusual situation until I moved to Florida. How did we manage this? We had an exceptionally low turnover rate, partly due to the way we compensated staff and the culture that we created in the clinic. We encouraged and supported staff in pursuing advanced degrees in the field. We also had very few staff on the payroll who didn't generate billing. We had the administrative director, her assistant, and an RBT who spent half her day doing scheduling and billing. We didn't have a C-suite or recruiting department. We had no lawyer on staff. When you minimize the staff who don't generate billing, you can treat the staff who do much better. I realize that this isn't possible for all companies, but think about the impact of the pay structure for your staff on their ability to behave ethically. Ensuring that staff needs are met is crucial for creating a work environment that minimizes the perceived need or pressure to engage in unethical billing practices or fraud. Here are several strategies that business owners can employ. Offer competitive salaries and benefits that align with industry standards. Adequate compensation contributes to employee satisfaction and reduces financial stress, decreasing the temptation to engage in fraudulent billing for personal gain. Foster open and transparent communication within the organization. Keep staff informed about financial goals, ethical guidelines, and the importance of maintaining integrity in billing practices. A culture of transparency builds trust and shared values. Invest in professional development opportunities for staff members. This includes training sessions, workshops, and conferences that enhances their skills and knowledge. A commitment to professional growth can contribute to job satisfaction and loyalty. Encourage and support a healthy work-life balance. Implement flexible work arrangements or policies that prioritize employee well-being. Staff who feel supported in managing their personal and professional lives are less likely to succumb to pressures that may lead to unethical practices. Recognize and appreciate the efforts of staff members. Regularly acknowledge their contributions and achievements. Feeling valued in the workplace fosters a positive work culture and reduces the desire to engage in unethical practices out of frustration or disillusionment. Establish a system for regular performance feedback and evaluation. Clearly communicate expectations, provide constructive feedback, and offer opportunities for improvement. A well-defined performance management system helps employees understand their role in ethical billing practices. And foster a collaborative team environment where employees feel included in decision-making processes. Encourage input on ethical considerations in billing practices, making employees feel more invested in maintaining the integrity of the organization. By implementing these strategies, business owners can create a supportive and ethical work environment that addresses the needs of their staff. Meeting these needs contributes to a positive workplace culture and reduces the perceived pressure or need for employees to resort to unethical billing practices or fraud. The final strategy we will cover is diversifying revenue sources to reduce the risk of pressuring staff to generate more billing. I won't spend a ton of time on this as it's similar to what I recommended for BCBAs. When a company has income coming in from multiple sources, pressure is reduced for the company and that is passed to the staff. Companies can diversify their income by providing consultation services to schools, clinics, or other organizations working with individuals with autism. Creating an online platform with resources like video tutorials, downloadable materials, or subscription-based content. Developing technology solutions or applications related to behavior analysis. This may include creating tools for data collection, assessment, or intervention, or writing articles, books, or other publications related to behavior analysis. Income can be generated through book sales, article submissions, or speaking engagements. When there is revenue coming in that isn't tied to billable hours, the number of hours the company bills to insurance becomes significantly less important. There's no need to require RBTs or BCBAs to meet a minimum number of hours. Combining these strategies builds a company culture that prioritizes client needs and minimizes pressure on staff. And that about wraps it up. In this course, we dove into crucial aspects of ethical considerations and professional conduct for BCBAs. We explored the complexities surrounding fraudulent billing practices and strategies to maintain the highest ethical standards. We examined the factors influencing unethical billing and identified strategies to reduce the perceived need or pressure to engage in such practices. From understanding the biases that may contribute to fraudulent behavior to exploring alternative income streams and creating supportive work environments, you are now equipped with the information and tools you need to navigate ethical challenges successfully. As BCBAs, fostering a client-centered perspective, prioritizing transparency, and actively participating in professional communities are essential elements of strengthening your ethical foundation. By continually reflecting on personal biases, embracing alternative income sources, and promoting an ethical workplace culture, BCBAs can elevate the standards of their practice and contribute to the integrity of the field. The commitment to ethical decision-making is an ongoing journey, and the insights gained in this course serve as a foundation to help you navigate complex ethical dilemmas with confidence and integrity. By incorporating these principles into your daily practice, you can not only enhance the quality of services provided to clients, but also contribute to the overall advancement and credibility of the field. Thank you for your dedication in maintaining the highest ethical standards in your professional journey as a BCBA. Just a few final things before we finish up. Make sure you have completed all 4 quizzes. There will be one for each of the lessons and a final quiz in the Mission Accomplished lesson. The final quiz is just asking you to attest that you have completed the requirements of the course. That includes watching the videos in their entirety. The BACB awards CEUs based on time, so you must watch the entire video. Remember to check your BCBA number in the Mission Accomplished lesson and update it if needed before you take that final quiz. Your certificate will not be emailed to you. You can find it by logging into your account. There are instructions and an image to help you locate that certificate in the Mission Accomplished lesson. There's a brief survey also in that last lesson. Please take a minute to complete it and let me know what you thought of this course. It helps me improve the courses I'm offering. Finally, if you have any trouble at all, just email me at support@masteraba.com. I'm happy to help you out.